What's up, Wayne Barron here with CFF Coding Source, and today we're inside of VMware ESXi 6.5. And what we will be doing today is we will be installing Windows Server 2016 Server Core. Not the desktop version, but the Server Core version. The Server Core is used to allow for a lower overhead. This will give you the ability to run the programs that you have installed more efficiently. So where the desktop, you have the desktop components, which take up a lot of your resources. In the Server Core, you do not have the overhead that comes with a desktop. After we get finished installing our Server Core, we will then be installing IIS, which is Internet Information Services used to run websites. And then after that, our final installation will be SQL Server. All right, let's go ahead and jump into this one. Come over here to the left and click on Virtual Machines. Up here at the top, click on Create Register VM. Create a new virtual machine, click on Next. We're going to give this one the name of Virtual Lessons or Virtual Lesson -01. And let's actually make that into a virtual. We want it to be ESXi 6.5 virtual machine. We want to select our guest OS for family would be Windows. Let's scroll all the way down here to the bottom to 2016 64-bit. Click on Next. If you have more than one data store, then you will have a choice here. I only have one with a capacity of 2.18 terabytes with a free space of 1.2 terabytes. Okay, let's go ahead and click on Next. And since we will be running both IIS and SQL Server, we're going to need to have enough CPU power to handle both of them. So we're going to come over here, we're going to choose 4. And then for our memory, we're going to change this from a 4 gig up to 6 gigs. And now we're going to add in multiple hard drives. So our first hard drive is going to be 40 gigs. Come over here, add hard disk. We're going to add in another one. We're going to do this one at 5. So we should have 7 total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, now let's go ahead and expand this out. And for each one of these, we want to change it to thin provision. Give a quick explanation. Thin provision is 40 gigs. If you do not take up the entire 40 gigs, then it is not going to take up 40 gigs of actual space. However, there will be 40 gigs allocated to it for whenever it is needed. So if we leave it at thick provision is going to drop a 40 gigabyte virtual disk onto your drive. So that'll be 266 gigabytes of flat storage will be dropped on your drive. To where if we set it as thin, then it will only allocate what is needed. So that's what we're going to do. So we're going to change each one of these to thin. Okay, with all of our hard drives completed, we also need some more network adapters. I have 4 network adapters installed on this server. This is a Dell R710 server, and it has 4 network adapters, plus it has the network card that is used for me to actually connect onto the server itself for remote management. And so we want to add 4 of them. So right now it currently has just 1. So we're going to add 2, 3, and 4. So now we have 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're going to leave all this information default. We're going to come over here. We also need to add in 2 more CD-ROMs. It automatically comes with 1 CD. So we're going to add in 2 more. Okay, so now we have 3 CD-ROM drives here. We're going to click on our host onto our data store. Come down here to ISO. And then our first one we're going to choose is going to be the 2016 server. Then we're going to come down to our next one. And then we're going to choose the Tools Complete 2022. Select. And then our last one will be our SQL Server, which is right here. SQL Server 2019. Go ahead and choose Select. And now everything is ready to go. So we've got our 7 hard drives. We got our 4 network adapters, and we got our 3 CD-ROMs. Go ahead and click on Next. And just to make sure that everything is the way that we want it to be, we're going to come down here and make sure that everything is thin provisioned, just to make sure that we did select each one out of each one of them. Go ahead and click on Finish. And there we go. We got our virtual lesson 01. Go ahead and minimize this window. We're going to come down here and we're going to open up our VMware workstation. Okay, this right here is our IP address of the window we were just in. So we click right here. We can see it, we're in 2013. We're going to go ahead and select it, type in root, and then our password. Okay, and from this location right here with our virtual lesson, let's rename it. Let's get rid of that I right there. So now it should actually have renamed it here as well. So let's go ahead and refresh it. And there we go. It is renamed there as well. Go ahead and choose power on the virtual machine. Okay, we're going to leave everything default. We're going to click on next and then install now. Okay, we got 4 options here. We got standard evaluation with desktop experience, data center evaluation, and data center evaluation desktop experience. So let's put this inside of simple terms. Let's say that you have a server set up similar to what I have here. So I have all of these right here. If each one of them was set up with a standard license, a standard installation, then I would have to purchase a single license for each one of these. Now if we come down to data center, the only thing we got to do with data center is that we got to purchase a core license. A core license can be anywhere from a 2 core all the way up to however large that it goes to. So the core license that I will be purchasing here shortly is going to be a 16 core license. And so that 16 core license is the 16 cores on the physical machine. Let's come down here and we're going to choose the data center evaluation. Click on next. Go ahead and choose accept the license terms. Click on next. Install Windows only. We're going to choose the very top one. We're going to choose new. Click on apply. Click OK. And then we're going to select the partition 2. Click on next. And then we're going to let the installation complete. Okay, so the installation has completed. Go ahead and click OK. Type in our password. And click OK again. Several items that we need to do for the installation. And what we're going to do here is we're going to take a look at this file right here. So as you saw at the beginning, we have 4 network adapters. Instead of assigning an IP address to each one of these, which would take up our list really quickly with all of the servers that I have, we're going to group these into a team. So instead of having 4 IP addresses, we're just going to have 1. What's going to happen is that let's say that NIC1 has been assigned that IP address, which we want to give it 192.168.2.44. So let's say that NIC1 has that .44 assigned to it, and then something happens to NIC1, NIC2 will pick up on it, or 3 or 4. So whichever one is next in line within that team, they will be handed off that IP address so that the server never goes down. So this is a failover. Next is that we're going to set up our firewall rules to allow for remote management. So this right here is going to allow us to connect onto the server using, we come right over here, right click and go over here to computer management. We will be able to log into the server using the computer management right now. So if we was to try to do it right now, we won't be able to do it. 2 reasons. One, we haven't given the computer a name, so we don't know what the name of it is, and we haven't given an IP address yet. So right now it's just got a DHCP IP address. Okay, so then our third one we're going to do, this is for IIS. Once we install it, then we're going to run this one. We also have another script that we got to run for our SQL Server as well. So we're going to go ahead and take all of this. We're going to do the PowerShell and do all of this all in one shot. So let's go ahead and jump over here and do that. Y for yes. Okay, so we have our team now, which is team VL Core 01, which is virtual lesson 01. Now we're going to go ahead and set up our firewall rules. And then next we're going to do this one. And then the next one. This one right here is going to make sure that we can actually administer our disk management. There it goes. And then our last thing to do is that right there. So everything has been installed there. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go over to sconfig. And sconfig is server configuration. Server configuration allows us, as you can tell, we can assign a domain or work group. We can rename the computer. We can add local administrators. We can configure remote management. So first thing, let's jump over here and let's go ahead and set up our time zone. We want to be in the right location, which is Eastern. Click on OK and OK again. Alright, so the next thing I want to do is click on 8 for our network settings. And as you can tell, we only have one network card sitting here. And that is the multiplexer driver. And that is our 4 adapters that have been combined into one adapter. Go ahead and click on 7. And then click 1, S for static. And then we want to give it the IP address of 44. Hit enter on that one. And then give it the gateway. And then let's go to 2 for our DNS. Alright, and click on 4, and now that. Okay, come over here, Control Delete, and then let's go ahead and log back in. And the first place we're going to jump into is sconfig. We're going to type in 1 to get to our domain, and then we're going to do D for domain, type in our domain name, and then our user, which is going to be VL Core 01. Type in our password, and we want to choose yes because we want to rename our system, so it's going to be VLCOR-01, and then VL Core 01. As you can tell, VL Core-01 is our computer name or server name, and then our username is VL Core 01. We want to keep everything the same, that way we won't never forget our users. Type in our password, then choose yes to reboot. Okay, let's come over here to the VM, Control Delete, let's hit escape and escape again, arrow down 1 to other user, and then we do VL Core 01, and then tab down and type in our password. Okay, so now that we've got everything set up for there, now we can come over here inside of our computer management, and then we can right click, choose connect to other computer, and do VL Core 01, and now we are connected to that system. Come down here to storage, disk management. Okay, so we got an error. Okay, so let's come down here to the search. We're going to type in component, and we want component services right here. Once it opens up, expand all the way down to my computer, right click and choose properties. Choose COM security, edit limits. Scroll down and choose anonymous login, and choose remote access. Click on OK, apply, OK, and then we should be able to then connect onto it. We gotta log back into the server again. The RPC server is unavailable. Okay, so one of the rules that we added into the server is this rule right here. So what we're going to do is that we're going to add this rule in so that we can have the RPC running. So we did the last part, so now we're going to add in that one. So let's come over here, click, go ahead and run this one. I need to do this PowerShell. All right, and now let's come over here, connect on, and let's see if we can get it this time. And there we go. So that's everything that has to be done, is that we've got to make sure that we run this right here on our Windows system that we're going to be using to remotely administer our server. And so I'd forgotten all about that because I had to reinstall my laptop. That's the first time it's been reinstalled in almost a year. And so I'd forgotten all about adding that rule in. So now let's come over here, bring this all the way up, and let's right click and bring all of these online. So then we're gonna have to connect back onto it again. You'll notice that you'll have to do this a lot. You have to keep on connecting on to the virtual machine in order to have stuff like this pop up. We gotta once again connect onto it again, and there we go. So now we can come in here and we can name everything. Okay, now what we're going to do is that we're going to name each one of these and give them a letter. Come down here. We got to come down to these, and we want to set each one of these up so that we can actually work with these guys. So let's right click, change drive letter. We're going to change this to a J. This one's going to be K. And then this one right here is L. So let's go ahead and jump back up here. And we got to, once again, since we changed them drive letters, right click, new simple volume, next, next. This is D, next, and this is going to be app. Okay, now sometimes it will not keep the drive letter. I'm not really sure why it does that. And so we may have to go in and reassign the drive letter, and yep. So we just got to simply come in here and add the drive letter back in. Come back over here, reload it. And we should have them all D, E, F, G, H, and then I. Okay. So we got all that done. Let's come over here to our system tools, drop down our shared folders and click on shares. And these right here are all of the default shares. Okay, so what we're going to do is that we're going to create a couple of folders inside of our G drive. So we're going to right click, choose new share, click on next. And then we're going to select our G drive right here, create a new folder. It's going to be iNet pub. And then inside of here, we're going to do logs. And inside of logs, we're going to do failed request log files. Come back over inside of iNet pub, and we're going to do www root. And then that is all that we're going to do for this. Go ahead and choose OK for there. And it's going to be our iNet. Click OK, and then we're going to add in a user that can access this area. And what that is going to do is that's going to allow the user that we just added access to that location from within the network. Just open up File Explorer here. So if we come over to VL Core 01, we've got access to this folder now from this user. So now what we want to do is that we want to come inside our DC, which is our domain controller. Go ahead and log into this system. Then after we've logged in, we want to click on the start menu and come up here to Server Manager, which I've already got it open right here. And we've already got the VL Core 01 there with the same IP address, but how you add in a new server, that you right click and you choose Add Server. Then once you do that, you do VL Core-01. Choose Find Now, and then select that, add it over here to your list, and click OK. Once you click OK, it's going to initialize. It's going to check and make sure that everything's okay with it. Then it's going to allow you to be able to access and administer it. So we're going to right click on it and choose add roles and features. Click on next. Next again. Make sure that it is chosen. Click on next. Then we want to come down here and choose web server. Click on next. Click on next. Next again. And this right here is going to be for our web server. So we're going to choose each one of these. Now, if you're running the ODBC, then you want to do ODBC logging. I do not run ODBC, so I never install that component. Let's go ahead and choose this area here and these two. Click OK. Make sure that they are chosen. And I never mess around with FTP. I do not use that locally because, as you can easily tell, I can easily transfer my files over to here. So let's come over here. We're going to do ASP. We're going to choose add features. Do this to each one of these. Scroll down and do server side includes. Go ahead and choose next. Choose specify an alternate source path, which we are not on E, so we want the source path that we just created. So let's come back over to here. Our J is our Windows drive, so that's the drive we want is J drive. So we're going to change this to a J. Click on OK, and then choose install. All right, everything is installed. All right, so one thing that we did not do, as you can tell, our mouse cursor is right sluggish, is that we need to install the VMware. I've forgotten all about that. This area right here, our ISO label, which is our K, that's where we want to be at. So we're going to come over here, type in K:, and then we're going to do LS. Then we want to go inside of CD VMware, and then LS again. And what we want is that we want this one right here, setup 64.exe. So we're going to be / and then right click, paste it, and go ahead and install our VMware. Log back into the server, PowerShell, go back inside of K drive, and then we're going to go CD IIS. We're going to list, and we want to install this one and this one. We're not going to install the request routing because we're not going to be using that in this lesson. Let's go ahead and install this one. Click on finish, and then we want to install the rewrite. So we need to install remote access, and that's what this script right here is for. So we need to copy this right here and then paste that in, and that is going to give us the remote access. So let's do the first one. We're going to choose yes, and then our second one. Run all three of these. Okay, let's come over here, let's click on it, and remote connections are not supported. Okay, so something that we need to do that I've forgotten all about. Like I said before, several times in this video, I had to reinstall this system because it was getting buggy on me. So as you can see right here, connections, we're not able to click on anything here because it's not available. So we got to come over here and we got to get the IIS manager for remote administration. So what this is going to allow is that once we install this onto our Windows system, the system that we're going to be using to remote connect onto our servers with, we need to install this. So click on the install the extension, and then we're going to choose to download. Now I've already got the file downloaded, and it is right here. So you just simply click on the download button right there, and then it's going to download this file. Go ahead and close out of IIS. And now, as you can tell, we have our connection tab. Okay, so this is already here. I'm going to go ahead and just remove the connection, choose yes, so I can show you how to do it. So we're going to select connect the server, VL Core 01, and then we're going to type in our domain and then our user, and then type in our password. And then it's going to give us this warning right here. So we're going to choose to connect. We're going to leave it set as default for the name and click on finish. Now we're going to open up the ASP properties, and then we want to come over here to enable parent path. We're going to set that to true. Come down here to debugging properties. We're going to set our enable client side debugging to true, sorry. Enable server side debugging, we cannot use that, so we're going to leave that as false. And then NT errors to log file, we're going to set that to true. And then send errors to browser, we're going to set that to true. Again, come over here and click on apply. Here to our sites, our default, and then we're going to click on advanced right here, and we're going to change this to RG inetpub www root, because that's where our files are going to be located at. And so we come over here, and then we have our file sitting in that location, and we're going to type out 192.168.2.44/ default.asp. There we go. We've got our testing. That works. So we're going to type into X, and then we're going to see if our yep, there you go. So our ASP.NET works. Click on the button and it works great. So the next thing we're going to jump into next is installing SQL Server. Go back one step, and then we're going to do ls, and then we're going to jump inside of SQL right here. So we're going to see what's inside of our SQL and then list it. And so we want to take a look at this file right here. So let's go ahead and come inside of Notepad, and we're going to open up, and the SQL Firewall, these right here are the firewall records that we're going to create after we install SQL Server. Over here, we're going to open up this file right here. So this file right here is what we need to install our SQL Server. It's going to have everything here, so that once we run it, it's going to install everything for us, so that we don't have to worry about having to put our hands on anything. Okay, this right here is the SQL Server script that we're going to be using to install SQL Server. What we need to do is that we need to change the password in this script. The password is right here at the beginning of the file. Then we scroll down a little ways. Then we got the password right here, and then the password right here. So that's 3 sections that you will need to change the password at. You will also need to change the account domain and the account domain here. Oh, and right here. So we got this one right here as well. So you got 3 domain sections. You got this one, and this one right here. So you change them 3 domain areas plus the 3 password areas, and then you can save this. I'm going to save mine inside of D SQL, and then I'm going to run this script to install SQL Server. Okay, so we're going to take a look here at the SQL script, and what we're looking at is that we're looking at the SQL agent, and then we're looking at the SQL engine. Okay, the SQL Core 01, that is the user for the account. So you're going to create a user called SQL Core 01, and then you're going to create a user for SQL Engine, and then a user for SQL Agent. And I will have all of the areas that you will choose within your DC for these agents and engines, and for your SQL Core. Now, the ones that I use may not be the right ones to use, but they work for what I'm doing, and as long as they work, I'm fine with that. So these are the 3 that you're going to have to create on your own within your DC. Okay, and now we're going to come back over to our computer management. We're going to find out where we need to go next, and we need to go to our L. So JKL, L is our SQL. Go ahead and bring that down. So we're going to come over here. We're going to go to L drive. The script that we're going to run now is this right here, setup.exe. So we're already in our L drive, so we're already in the location that we need to be at. And what it's going to do is that it's going to grab a hold of the configuration file that we just put inside of our D drive. And then once it grabs a hold of that file, it's going to grab a hold of all the information that is held within that file, and then it is going to run all the way through it, and it's going to install the entire program. Now this is only the server. This is not the management tool. The management tool will be run from the system that you're using to remotely administer your server with. And so in my case, I'm using my laptop, my Windows 10 laptop. So let's go ahead and choose enter and then sit back and let the installation do what it has to do. Okay, the installation with SQL Server is completed. So what we're going to do now is that we're going to restart the system. Okay, so before we reboot the system, let's go ahead and install our firewall settings so that that is taken care of. So let's go ahead and tab down one, grab a hold of all of these. All right, there we go. So we got all 4 of the rules set in. Let's go ahead and do one more thing before we stop. Let's go ahead and connect back onto the server. Go down to Services, SQL Server Configuration Manager. Let's go down to our protocols. Okay, so we're going to come over here to named pipes. We're going to go ahead and enable this. So choose yes and choose apply. Okay and okay again. Come over here to TCP. And up here, we're going to take away the 0. We're going to enable this. We're going to set this at 1433. Scroll down to the bottom. And for our dynamic port, we are going to put in 49731. Choose apply, choose OK, OK again. We don't really need to do this, but it says to restart the SQL Server, and you would do that right here. So what we are going to do is for the browser, we're going to open it up and we're going to change it to automatic. Click on apply and then choose start. And then we're going to restart our SQL Server. Okay, inside of these services right here, if we expand all the way out, I've already done this one right here. So we're going to do the SQL Server agent. We're going to double click on it. We're going to choose login. And then right here, we're going to type in the domain. And then we're going to type in the SQL. Okay, then we're going to come down here, type in the password. Then we're going to click on apply. That's right here. It says the account for Foxfire SQL agent has been granted the log on as a service right. Click OK and then click on OK again. So now we've got this SQL engine for the SQL Server SQL 2019 instance. And then for our SQL Server agent, we have the Foxfire SQL agent. And so that's how you make sure that they are added in as a service within your services. And that is pretty much how you would do it. However, we do have to reboot the server for all settings to take place, but that is how you complete the configuration. Whenever you make a change over here, you have to go over here to restart the server. Let's go ahead and bring that down. We're going to do a shutdown. Let's move that out of the way. S and then /T and 0. So if we do an S, then that's going to shut down the server. However, we're going to do an R, which is going to reboot the server. The T is for the time that you want it to take. 0 is automatic. It's going to happen right now. You can set it for 1 or whatever you want to set it for. But we're going to do a shutdown, a reboot. We're going to do it right now. And that is how that part is done. Okay, so we're not really going to do anything else within our server. It is pretty much perfect. We don't need to mess with anything else. Let's go ahead and bring that down. We're going to come over here inside of our SQL Server. So we're going to open this up, choose Apps, Microsoft. We're going to choose Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio. Okay, so now what we're going to do is that we need to connect onto that server. And so this right here is SQL Server Management Studio. And how we connect onto the service, we open this up and we choose local server groups. We're going to right click on it. We're going to choose new server registration. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to type in BL401 /. This is going to be SQL 2019. So this right here is our server name and then our instance name. Okay, once we got that done, then we're going to do SA and then we're going to type in our password. Okay, this is our default name to log in. We're going to do a test. and everything, our connection was successfully done. So let's go ahead and save this. And then we're going to go ahead and load this up. Then let's come down here to security. We want to go ahead and add in our default user. So we're going to do a new login. Okay, we're going to do this the same as what all of my examples on the website is going to be a test user, and the password is going to be test user. I strongly suggest that you do not leave this as default. And we want to make sure that it's not enforced. Server roles, we're going to do system admin, and then we're going to choose OK. We're going to come over here to our database, right click on it and choose new database. Our database is going to be the virtual class 01. And then we can come down here, and near about all of your databases, when you're going to be running them in a production mode, you're going to want to run the recovery model as full. You can see right here, we've got our database is going to be stored inside of our F drive, and our logs are going to be stored inside of our G drive. So let's go ahead and choose OK on that one, and that creates our first database. So let's come expand this out to our table, create a new table. All right, let's go ahead and pin them to the side. We're going to give this ID, and then we're going to give this test name. And this is going to be in var character. We're going to select this one and make it a set primary key. Come down here to identity specifications, and we're going to change that to yes. We're going to save this as test table. Okay, and we're going to come over to here. And as you can see, we've got our database and our web.config. Our web.config file is going to consist of the database.config. And then the database well, we're going to change this. And I'm going to show there's going to be an error that's going to happen, and I'm going to show you how to fix that error. So we got our database connection right here. So our we're going to change this right here to our new server right here, which is VL Core 01 SQL 2019. Our database is a virtual class 01. Our user ID is test user. Our password is test user. And so then we've got our connection on, or the code that we're going to run. So we got ID, and then we got test name, and then this is going to be our test table. Let's change that to test name. Go ahead and save that, and this right here is going to be inside of our VL Core. So everything is sitting over there, and it should, once we load this page, we should get the records that we're going to create here. So let's go ahead and close out of this, and then we're going to right click, and we're going to edit all rows, and then we're just going to simply type in my name, my granddaughter's name, my other granddaughter's name, my grandson's name, and then my son's name, and then if I don't put it in here, she will fuss, my daughter-in-law's name. Okay, so we're going to have all these names load once we load the page. So this right here is our default.aspx page. So we should get an error, and our error should be this right here. So let's go ahead and reload the page, and there we go. So we've got this error right here. So we're going to take the custom error mode. We're going to bring that over here inside of the web.config, and we're going to put it right here. Then we're going to save it. Come back over here, reload the page, and right here, see, we got a 4.0. So this is an error occurred during the processing. It's saying that the target framework attribute in the compilation element, the web.config file, is used only to target version 4.0. So that means that we need to come over here and change that to a 0, and change this to a 0. Go ahead and save that, come back over here, and then we should be able to load our page. Okay, so I had a simple fix, and what it was that I had to come inside of Visual Studio and take a look at it, but the name of the data source was incorrect. Even though I thought I had changed it, it never actually got saved. So that was causing me to get this error right here. So we reload the page, and then there we go. The only thing that I've got an issue with is that, as you know, the very top record is Wayne. However, it does not show Wayne. It shows all the other records except for Wayne. So if anybody's got an explanation as to why this simple code right here does not, I mean, even if I put top 10 on there, it won't even show the very first record. However, if I go in yonder and let's say I remove this, this, and this. Let's just save that and come over here, reload, and I'll get everything. But if I have the if statement here, the if statement will not show all these records. So that's two ways to do it. You can do an if statement that says, okay, if there is a record here, then go ahead and show the record, else so that there's no records available. And so, like I said, if you do it with the if statement, you're going to lose one of the records. You're going to lose, well, I mean, it's already showing that one right there for that page. But anyway, so that is how you get Windows Server 2016 Server Core installed, get IIS installed with all of its components, and then install SQL Server and get it up and running. Just make sure that whenever you do your data.config file, that you make sure that your data source is pointing to the right server. If not, then you're going to get the error that we received a minute ago. I am Wayne Barron for CFF Coding Source. I hope that y'all enjoyed this lesson. Please like and subscribe. Let any friend that you know that enjoys ASP Classic, ASP.NET, VB, and C# lessons. All this is coming soon. Y'all have a good one now. Bye-bye.